So I just watched Markiplier's directorial debut, Iron Lung, and it was okay. For the uninitiated, Markiplier is a very famous YouTuber who has been around for quite a while, and is primarily known for his Let's Play videos, but most people probably know him as the funny FNAF guy. He has branched off into various other projects, such as podcasts, side channels, TV shows, and even streaming movies, with the Iron Lung being his first theatrical film, which he also financed, wrote, directed, and starred in. This has been a passion project for Mr. Mark, and it has been in production for quite a while now, with Mark even turning down a cameo role for the FNAF movie since he was busy working on this. While I haven't seen his other projects, from what I heard, they all have been received mostly positively, and it's cool to see YouTubers branch off into bigger and more ambitious projects. As for how the film turned out, this movie is based off a video game of the same name, in which you are sealed shut in a submarine and are tasked to navigate in a sea of blood, using only a camera and some coordinates as navigation. While I personally didn't play the game, I did see plenty of YouTubers play it, including Markiplier's playthrough of the game. It is super short, but its premise was intriguing enough to capture Markiplier's attention and expand it into a feature. The effects are the highlight of the film, as the submarine set looks really good, looking like it was ripped straight out of the game. The budget for the film hasn't been disclosed, but it can be safe to assume that it was relatively low. But in spite of that, it does end up looking mostly good, aside from a few rough scenes. But the film unfortunately suffers from some major issues. For one, Markiplier himself is very distracting. Since he is the leading man and takes up the majority of the film's screen time, it can be very hard to disassociate him from his online persona. While his acting is decent enough, it can be very jarring. Still, as the film went along, he did get a bit better and it became a little less distracting, but I wouldn't blame anyone if they only see Mark and not him as an actor. As for the plot, while it is mostly the same premise as the game, it does expand a bit more into the lore of this universe and fleshes out exactly why someone got stuck in this situation in the first place. But due to this added content, it does take away from the horror elements, and as such, it ends up feeling more like a psychological action thriller than it does horror. And since it would be pretty boring to only have Mark talk to himself for the whole movie, they decided to add in other speaking characters to help flesh out the story a bit more, which can be a bit contentious. If you're a fan of the silent and claustrophobic environment of the game, then this movie doesn't do the best job at capturing that feeling. I also feel like this movie doesn't do the best job at explaining its premise, which was mostly due to some bad sound mixing. Multiple lines of exposition were drowned out by blaring sound effects and music, so when things were being explained towards the beginning of the film, it was hard to comprehend what exactly was being said. Since I was aware of the source material, it was a bit easier for me to understand what was going on, but when I asked my roommate what they thought, they agreed that they couldn't really understand what was being said, and as such, they were a bit lost to the basic premise of the film. The sound mixing does get better as the film went along, but it gets pretty bad towards the end of the film. But I think the biggest issue that most people would agree on is that this movie is way too long. Clocking in at just over 2 hours, this movie really does end up feeling its length. It doesn't help that we end up spending the entire movie in a single environment, and it gets pretty dull real quick. I don't mind movies that are primarily set in one location, but this movie does end up feeling really repetitive, with a lot of shots often feeling like they're being repeated for excessive periods of time. There are multiple scenes where it feels like they go on for way too long, with the worst offenders being towards the middle of this film. If this movie had been shorter, I think it would have helped keep up with some of the tension that the movie was aiming for, but its length greatly hampered this movie. While I don't mind slow burns, a movie has to be at the very least engaging on a plot level, and unfortunately, the plot really does not justify the length in the slightest. The dialogue was also quite bad at times, with a lot of it being rather cliche or badly written. There were a lot of swear words that ended up feeling rather childish, which wasn't helped by some of the flat delivery from some of the characters, including Mark himself. Still, I didn't hate it, as Mark clearly put a lot of work towards making it. Again, the effects look good, and the set looked great for the most part. This movie holds the record for the most amount of artificial blood in a film, and those scenes are very fun, but it does take way too long to get there. It's not the worst feature debut, and I can see Mark improving in future projects. If you're a fan of the game or of Markiplier, then you might enjoy it for what it is, but if you're not a fan of either of those things, then I don't see you getting much out of this. If you want to support this movie, then by all means go on and watch it in theaters. It's great to have more independent films be shown in theaters, especially one that is widely available. And it's awesome that Markiplier was able to self-distribute this. At the time of this recording, it's looking like this movie is tracking pretty well at the box office, which is a pretty great accomplishment, even if I didn't care for the movie all that much. Go watch it in theaters if you're interested. And I'm giving this film a 4 out of 10.
Markiplier, and welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's, an indie horror game that you guys suggested en masse, and I saw that Yamimash played it and he said it was